I've microdosed on psilocybin a couple times, which is the active ingredient in magic mushrooms. And I've really come to see it as a detoxing, cleansing, and unsticking myself, which is why I want to talk about it on the channel. And so today I'm going to talk about the two primary protocols that I did for microdosing psilocybin, what that is, and the impact it's had on me. Microdosing any substance is taking a micro dose or small dose of that substance so that the impact is subtle, and oftentimes it will be over the course of several sessions, or at least more than one session. For me, the first time that I did it, I was going through a really tough, the hardest time in my life, like a really difficult time. Spiritually, I felt like kind of how I had seen the world before had been kind of shattered, and I was in a confused time. I didn't fully trust myself to make the right decisions, and I kept just being like, what is it that I'm not seeing? I wanted my therapist and whoever else, the practitioners I was working with, I wanted them to show me what I had not seen that had, shattered the way that I saw the world before. I was separating from, I had separated from my former partner. I moved into a new house. I had been going through years already of, physical symptoms, and I wasn't sure what who I was before, or what I thought to be true about the world, or my point of view on the world. It was all in question. So a friend of mine in Mexico, where I was living, had been going through something similar in her life, and she told me about a practitioner she was working with here who did energetic reprogramming, working with the Akashic records and many kind of ancestral, past life, and energetic practices that he had brought together in many different ways. And that work with him was really pivotal for me in getting back calm in my body when I had been having a lot of anxiety and stress and not sleeping. And part of that work with him was him suggesting that I do a 30-day protocol of microdosing psilocybin. The reason why he suggested it to me was because I was having a really difficult, it was like I wanted to hold on to and control the emotions I was having, the thoughts I was having. I was very uncomfortable with how deep the emotions were. I hadn't experienced that in my life before, and I completely see now why he thought it was a good idea for me, because when I took the psilocybin, I was really able to let things flow and let go of trying to control how I would experience this deep pain and sorrow and shame and love and nostalgia and beauty that I was dealing with. So I did a 30-day protocol, and it was in a small little jar, and it was psilocybin with cardamom and cacao. Cacao in many Latin American traditions is they call it like a heart opening substance. It helps to dilate our arteries and to thin our blood a little bit. It has, and so it's used in a lot of ceremonial work in Mexican culture and other Latin American cultures, and or in pre-Columbian traditions, I guess I should say. And so it was cacao, psilocybin, and cardamom. And I would just take a small little spoonful, like a coffee spoon, the really small ones. I would take like half of one of those each day for 30 days. And what I experienced was, really just being able to let the emotions flow through my body without controlling them. A lot of I had been looking for answers outside of myself by going to a lot of therapists and stuff. Like I wasn't fully trusting, as I said, my own point of view, my own thoughts. I was looking for people for therapists and practitioners and friends and to like show me what I wasn't seeing before and to challenge the way that I was seeing the things that I was going through. And what the psilocybin did was had me connect back with myself more, to connect some dots in my brain. Psilocybin is really great for helping to rewire or do some of the patterns, thought patterns, neurological pathways in our brains that get us into these ruts, that get us into these recurring ways of seeing the world or judging people, or, these patterns that we develop over time. It's like walking on a path. The way that our brain works when we're talking about patterns like that, it's like if you're walking on a path through the woods, if you keep walking down that path, that same exact path over and over and over again, the path gets more stamped down, it gets more defined. And the same thing can happen in our brains and our bodies as we continue to reinforce pathways. Then they become more rigid and used and natural for us to continue to use that path. So psilocybin is one substance that can be really helpful in rewiring or, scuffing up that path and creating new paths. And I really felt that with doing the 30 days. I remember standing in my kitchen in Mexico, and I had music on and I was cooking, I guess. And I within minutes, I was crying out of beauty and sadness and nostalgia and then anger and then fear. And I was having all of the emotions kind of back to back and almost simultaneously. And I had been having those experiences prior to taking the psilocybin daily, but I was, trying to this is the way that I can explain it. I was trying to kind of control it, or not wanting to feel the fear, or, feeling anger and then going back, or feeling, beauty or sadness or compassion, and then going back to the anger that I had been feeling. And I was able to really just allow myself to feel all the feelings. And as I was doing that, that was happening in my brain, but it was also happening in my body. I was able to release my body a little bit more. It gave me more energy, which sometimes happens. And in fact, I would say that when you take psilocybin, it's going to give you what you need. So I had a few days where I was just really tired, and I would take a nap. And I'm not a person who takes naps. And I would sleep more because that was what my body needed. Or I would be I'm going to go lay on the beach. And I would lay on the beach and just soaking up the sun and being on the earth was exactly what my body needed. And then sometimes I would be more creative, and it would push me into not push me, but guide me into working on work projects or coming up with new ideas for my business. And I was really able to get present and in my body more, and not continue to have these recurring, I was having the same recurring conversations in my head over and over again. And I was able to let some of those things go. The second time that I did a protocol for microdosing psilocybin, it wasn't with cacao or cardamom or any other substance. It was just the mushrooms. And I took them in capsules, and they were 0.2 grams capsules, I believe. And this was at a time in my life when I was out of the woods a little bit with how difficult things had been. I was kind of getting out in the world more. I had been traveling. I was meeting new people. I had grown a lot of confidence in myself and in my body. I was feeling much more connected in my body. And this time I didn't take it every day. Depending, sometimes the person who gives it to you will suggest doing it every day. I think when you're taking psilocybin by itself or mushrooms by itself, often they'll say to not take it every day, take it every 2 or 3 days. And I did that for about 30 days. So I maybe took it 10 times over the course of about 30 days. And that time, again, because of where I was in my life and because I believe that plants are very wise, this is something that comes from the earth. Plants are very wise, and I had given it an intention. I had given the capsules an intention, and I would take them with intention. It gave me what I needed at that point. And at that point, it was much more joy, laughter, creativity, pleasure. I was having lots of ideas around my business, which had been kind of in a rut and just not inspired with running my business. And I remember going for a walk one day and I just had great energy, like high energy. And I was having all these ideas. And so I was taking voice notes as I was going for this walk and lots of ideas for my business. And again, I would go and lay on the beach a lot of the time. And as soon as I would get in the sun and, put my body in the sun and lay on the sand, I would start having all these ideas and I would journal. I love to journal. It's an amazing way to get things out of your body and get them on paper and really work through things. And I was drawing graphs and diagrams and stuff. And it was a much more creative time. And it was also helping me I was kind of on the other side of a very difficult time, but I was still surprised when I would feel true joy and fun and pleasure. And taking the psilocybin at that time really had me connect back with that and again laugh and just be more in this really high vibrational positive energy that had been difficult for me to get to. Again, I wasn't like in the depths of my most difficult times, but I also wasn't at the highest like fully feeling joy and pleasure. And so it really helped with that. What else? So I have come to, just through those experiences and others that I've had, I've really seen how our bodies can hold emotions in them and how stress, depressive thoughts, unhealthy relationships, etc., will make us exhausted, will make us tired, will certainly upset our digestive systems, will cause all of these physical symptoms. And so relieving myself of that and kind of rewiring the neural pathways with psilocybin was also helping me to feel better in general in my body, like enjoying being in my body after years of feeling so disconnected from my body and feeling pissed off at my body, really, to be honest. I felt pissed off at my body. It was like, ugh, why don't you feel well? So I would consider, I've actually been thinking about doing microdosing again recently because I've gone through a lot of growth over the last year and a half. I mean, always, but year, I moved to another continent. I've had so many realizations. I've grown in my relationships, and I've gotten to a place where I don't take things personally, and I just see the world in a different way than I did a year and a half ago when I last did microdose. And I think it would be a good time for me to do it again, because I think it will really help to integrate all of this change that I've been experiencing inside of myself, and spiritually and physically, and like externally in my life, like moving and all that. And I would say that's a really good time to consider it. One is if you're going through a really difficult emotional time and you're having a hard time with processing through those emotions. Two, when you're having a difficult time with really connecting with your own creative, vital life force energy and your own creativity and joy and pleasure and fun. And then three, when you want to integrate into your body all of the change that you've been going through. I mean, that's what I'm thinking would be why it would be a good thing for me to do right now. So yeah, I think it's going to help me to really get grounded in who I am now. Because, the world is moving fast. Like the world has changed so much, and we're in a time where, at least for me, I just feel like I can't even imagine where my life is going to be 2 years from now. And things are like how I have come to think of the world and manage my relationships and my work and my life, and the point of view that I have on life has changed a lot. And I want to be present here in this physical body with that change. And so, yeah, I've just convinced myself that I'm going to do it again soon. Now, psilocybin is not legal in all places in the world. Most of the places in the world, kind of the primary, like magic mushrooms, are not legal. There are strands of it and versions that are legal in several states. I was just in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they have some version of mushrooms that are legal. And the good thing about legal is like they're very controlled and the dosages are controlled, and so you can buy those in certain places, in wherever they sell THC and cannabis products as well. Some states like Colorado and I think maybe Oregon, and some of these pioneers who have been, states that have been pioneers in cannabis also have versions, therapeutic versions. Sometimes you can do it, with a practitioner in a therapeutic setting, always starting with a small amount. Bless it, create an intention for it. You always want to have the right set and setting. Again, I think that the plant gives you what you need in that moment. So it's really important to be in a place where you can fully be yourself and express yourself. If you want to dance or listen to music or go for a walk, being in nature is a really great idea. Only surround yourself with people you're going to feel really comfortable with, or do it by yourself. I'm not, I can't tell you how to do it. Of course, this is not medical advice either. But these are just some things to consider if it's on your radar. And again, being in a very just supportive and peaceful environment is really important for making sure that it's an experience that feels beautiful. Microdosing is not, like, the point is not to get really high. It is, you do feel it in your body. Certainly you have, again, like you're moving things through your body and through your mind, and you might have kind of a more connection to spirit, but it's not like a super high, out of this world kind of thing. It's quite mild and pleasant. And so, yeah, you just want to make sure that you're taking small amounts, again, 0.1 to 0.3 grams. And it will last for a few hours. And the impact is going to go beyond that, but you may feel a little bit of this kind of high or energy or whatever for not that long, I don't know, an hour or two or something, but or less, depending on how much you take. But of course, you're going to remember what, in your body and in your mind, you're going to remember what experience you had during that time, so it lasts for a long time. So that's that on psilocybin. I think when I work my spirit, when I work my mind, when I work my emotions, when I work my physical body, they're all connected. So I'm having an impact in the other areas of my being. And so what feels accessible to you, I think, is just a great place to start with any of this work, whether it's, enemas or parasite cleanses or mineral balancing or diet or exercise or psilocybin or therapy or somatic therapy or energy reprogramming. It's all working together. And so for some people, it might feel more accessible, or it might just, there might be a calling. You might, hear this video or something else about psilocybin and microdosing, and it just feels like, something inside you kind of perks up and you're like, oh yeah, like, And I think that's something worth listening to. Yeah, so here's to being well, and I will see you in the next episode.